Hello everybody, this is Fun Police, and today I'm going to be just throwing together a quick video to talk about the patch that just came out, which is the 1.3 patch, The Return of the Apocalypso. This includes a brand new ship and a new faction, or at least the beginnings of it, on top of a variety of other changes. I don't want to waste too much time, so let's go ahead and just start talking about that new ship, which is the Ancient Sea. Called the Apocalypso, its lore reads as such. A relic once trapped in a subspace labyrinth, ravaged by rift storms and witness to countless unrealities, involved in the disastrous first contact with Earth-1 prior to its belated reemergence in Imperial space. The ship itself follows the ancient layout, having a very long and spread out series of systems. It comes with two unique crew members on it. The first is the Imperial Proselyte, which is a Imperial Acolyte that contains the same stats and everything, but its unique spell, instead of the Force Shield they normally have, is the Chaos Rift, allowing them to teleport stuff either from your ship to the enemy or vice versa. The other unique unit is the Deceiver, which is a normal Mouth of Arayok, but they have Treasonous Whispers instead of their usual spells. This is the mind control spells that don't recognize the name. There is one pre-installed module, Spectral Drives, which allows Ancient Sea to dodge spells using its evasion stats, meaning that, similar to how you can dodge normal weapons, now Psyker spells have a chance of missing you if your command throne is occupied and you have engines up. Its weapons are an Energy Beam 2 and a Magnetic Pulse 1. The beam obviously is your damage dealer and the main way you're going to actually kill enemy ships. Now note, the Energy Beam 2 did get a fairly nice buff in this patch, which we'll talk about in a minute, but generally it's a fairly solid weapon now. The Magnetic Pulse doesn't deal any hull damage, and as such it's mostly here as a way to bring down shields for your beam to actually get in there. Ancient Sea also has many of the systems you would come to expect in a ship. This includes armaments, shields, doors, sensors, life support, all that. The one unique system that it has is a Husk Rack, which obviously is meant to combo with the Imperial Proselyte's Chaos Rift, allowing you to essentially board the enemy ship with your own husks and attack them that way. Worth noting as well that the Husk Rack itself also got a buff in this patch, which again we'll talk about in a minute. But generally this ship has felt pretty good. I did a run on Torment 10 that I won, and it felt pretty good overall. Once you find pretty much any weapon to combo with the Energy Beam 2 that deals hull damage, it's a fairly strong start. On top of that, having built-in boarding potential and that nice module of Spectral Drives means that it was pretty easy to get a fairly solid run going, and I never felt like I was struggling super hard with the ship. I would overall say that Ancient Sea actually sits as probably on the high end of power level for ships. Maybe not the cream of the crop like Explorer B, but I definitely think it's up there a good bit. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the specific balance changes that happen because a lot of them are just generally small changes in cooldown or, various adjustments to a bunch of minor things in game. But the general gist of it is that a lot of beam weapons got their cooldowns reduced a solid bit. A lot of them generally went down about 6 to 8 seconds in total cooldown, putting them generally closer to a 12 to 14 second cooldown, which is much more effective in terms of beam weapons. Means that they're going to be up and ready to go with almost any weapon you can combo with them more often. On top of that, other beams got some reductions, most notably the heat beams that spread fire but deal no damage now only cost 1 power, which makes them much cheaper to combo with, which is very nice because previously they were very expensive in terms of slots and all that for a weapon that dealt no actual damage to stuff. A couple other small things to go on. The Stygian Worm on Overseer A is now under player control and now just periodically spawns tendrils, meaning that you don't have to worry about manually spawning them yourself. And the fact that you control it now means you can easily warp it back if it gets teleported or you need it to go fight somewhere. It's a very, very minor thing, but it was kind of one of the weird, frustrating things, and it's kind of nice to see that updated. On top of that, two of the mini-bosses also got some changes. The Voltaic Cruiser got a crew buff featuring an assault cyborg and some husks replaced with combat husks, making their crew overall a bit more potent in combat. On top of that, many of their weapons got additional power, meaning they shoot more shots and are harder to completely disable. Both of which are kind of needed, as the Voltaic Cruiser was actually one of the easiest mini-bosses, and you could kind of just walk over it if you knew you had a decent boarding crew. On top of that, the Core Miner also seemed to have gotten a buff, namely their weapons got more power instead of only being at 1 power. So maybe that means they put up a bit more fight as well, because previously you could very easily just cripple 1 or 2 of their weapons and they really wouldn't be able to do much about it. Beyond those changes, a variety of systems have gotten their price reduced. Sensors, weapons, door controls all have gotten a bit cheaper in cost, generally about 10 to 20 scrap for each of them, which is nice because these are generally systems you have on most ships, but on the ones that don't, it was just a unnecessary tax that you kind of had to pay if you wanted a functional ship, so can't complain about that. The one nerf that happened in this patch is to Tower of Skulls, which went from 20 to 50 scrap, which is a pretty hefty nerf, but Tower of Skulls was legitimately like a super strong module, and for being 20 scrap was an auto pick. Now it's a bit more of an investment, at least for the raw power it gives your commander. Another module that got buffs, and actually got a pretty insane buff, are Seeker Missiles. This is the module that launches missiles whenever you used a consumable. Now, Seeker Missiles launches 6 missiles at the enemy systems, which going from 1 to 6 missiles is a big jump, and it seems to indicate a lot of damage for spamming consumables. I haven't had a chance to play with this yet, but it seems pretty nuts from what I've heard. The final change to existing content that I feel like talking about is the Husk Rack, which got 2 small changes to it that are still nice little additions to a subsystem that was generally considered quite weak. Its upgrades got cheaper, generally about 20 to 30 scrap cheaper, going 25 and 50 now instead of the previous 40, 70 I believe it was. On top of that, the husks now all build at the same rate of 7 seconds. Previously, the higher level husks took longer to build, and it just made it completely impossible to really upgrade them effectively. You had to do a weird micro thing where you would let the build on level 1 and then upgrade it to level 3 immediately right as it was about to pop out to get it. Now you can just have it fully powered and you get the better husks with no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't think the Husk Rack is going to be something you're jumping at the bit to get still. It has the same price tag of 70 scrap to get initially, which is a bit pricey. Like, for reference, that is in the same category as like Shield Charger, and Shield Charger is like one of the best systems in the game. Another example is Husk Rack also costs more than Hull Reaper and missiles and pretty much most other systems. So it's very, very expensive still. If it had gone down to like 55 scrap or 50 scrap, probably would have been like a perfect buff, but this is still a massive improvement. And at least for ships that start with it, like the new Ancient Sea, this has been a very nice addition to make that a lot better. Now, before we get into the last little bit of content, if you've liked this video so far, make sure to like and subscribe for more Void War content. And if you're looking to avoid spoilers, then I would stop watching now, as the rest of this video is going to simply be talking about the new events and everything that's just gotten added with this update. So with that warning out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the new Vanguard ships. These are ships that are being found in exclusion zones, it seems, and they feature a brand new crew to them called Interfacers. These are child soldiers, which are seemingly the new faction in the game. They feature 25 HP, 5 DPS, which is knight level of damage, and their system manning bonus is doubled, meaning that they're really good at piloting the ships. As you can see from the screenshots, their faces very much represent Shinji from Neo Genesis Evangelion, which is a weird reference, and I would not have in a million years guessed this is what is coming to Void War. Regardless, this new faction already has made a bit of an impression on me because that doubling bonus on manning stuff allows for some pretty strong loadouts on their side. Being able to have even faster weapon charge-ups, being able to have shields recharge faster, or getting really high dodge potential by manning systems and doubling that evasion rate. They can be really impactful. I haven't had any ship like die to them yet, as I've only had a couple runs, but there's definitely been a fight or two where they dodge a lot, they get their barrages off first, and they've done a bit of damage. They do seem to be currently a bit weak to boarding, because even with their really high 5 DPS, 25 health is just nothing, and they roll over very, very quickly to a solid boarding crew. On top of that, a new handful of weapons have been added to shops and events and all that you can find. These are photon weapons, and they are the main things you'll find on Vanguard ships. These are essentially equivalents to your Retributors or similar category of weapons, but their unique benefit is that they have a 50% chance to stun the crew in target room for 5 seconds. But their downside is that they have slightly slower charge times compared to other weapons in their similar category. But these are photon cannons 1, 2, and 3. I believe there's a photon beam that is also kicking around. And there may even be more that hasn't been found yet, as this video is so shortly after the update. But at least for those, you can find them. They seem to be priced the same. I actually played with them a little bit, and they do feel fine. You know, I don't think they're like anything game-changing, but they do, you know, offer potential to find some more weapons that can be energy efficient in stripping shields down and dealing damage when you need them. So I wouldn't write them off as bad or anything. And with that, we have talked about pretty much everything coming in the 1.3 patch. Overall, very nice patch, you know, seeing as these patches are only coming out, you know, essentially 2 or 3 weeks apart at the latest. It's really nice to see, you know, a decent mix of some new content with new ships and new weapons, and seemingly the new faction is going to be slowly built upon in future updates. On top of that, some balance changes are always welcome to make things more exciting in terms of the content we already have. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe as I continue to make more and more Void War content. But otherwise, if you've watched this whole video, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.